Good morning, Thailand. My name is Alex.
And I'm Jay.
And we have some news updates for you from around the land of smiles for you today, this Wednesday, February 5th. Now, before we begin, please remember to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date on all things Thailand. Now, today we will be talking about some, foreigners behaving badly.
Oh, no.
We are usually want to do. And a little bit later, we'll be talking about an Indonesian death row inmate being repatriated to his native country of France. But speaking of France, our first story has to do with a drunk French tourist who crashed into a Patong cop and was arrested immediately. Go figure. A drunk French tourist, Mohamed Jafar, crashed his motorcycle into a Patong traffic police officer early yesterday morning, injuring both men. The incident occurred at 7:14 a.m. on Prat Meta Road. This guy was having an all-nighter, apparently. The officer, Police Sergeant Major Patong, was taken to the hospital while Jafar, who was riding a black Honda ADV 160, was arrested after a breathalyzer test showed a 0.58 alcohol level. Good God. Well over the legal limit. He now faces legal action as police call for stricter enforcement of drink driving laws in Phuket to curb reckless tourist behavior.
Yeah. The legal limit in Thailand is 0.05, as I have been corrected. So 0.58 means, he was 5 times over the limit, which means that instead of 2 beers, he had more than 10.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And honestly, we're lucky that this wasn't even more tragic. The fact that he could even stand to get on and turn on in his motorbike is shocking in and of itself. But certainly this guy deserves to be facing some serious punishment. And talk about the irony of crashing it directly into a police officer. So pretty immediate police action in that one.
Right. Well, we're going to move on to our next story, which is taking us to Pattaya police and bribery. Can you bribe a police officer in Pattaya? Well, Pattaya police have dismissed a British tourist's bribery claims as largely untrue.
Right.
While promising a full review. Andrew Hopkins, 55, alleged he was jailed for 36 hours in poor conditions and forced to pay 15,000 baht for his release. However, Pattaya Police Chief Police Colonel Nawin Tirawit stated that Hopkins, drunk at the time, was initially fined 100 baht for damaging a barrier but later arrested again for causing disturbances. The police insist due process was followed with CCTV evidence and documented belongings, while the case is now under further scrutiny to maintain Pattaya's reputation. I thought that was a very diplomatic answer. We can neither confirm nor deny these allegations.
That is a classic maneuver.
Yeah.
Look, who knows? And again, like, what is it? Getting fined 100 baht, is that even like a thing? Like,
no, I don't think 100 baht is.
It seems like a low ball there. That's for sure. And I think that if he was causing a disturbance, if he was publicly intoxicated, it's one of those things too.
Intoxicated.
In Thailand, look, if you are by the time you're in jail, the time you're in custody, what if these alleged briberies that occur, that becomes very difficult at that point, which of course that doesn't happen at all in Thailand, as everybody knows. But the point is you should ask to pay your fine immediately. Is typically if you want to get out of being put into a drunk tank. But at the same time, if this guy was publicly intoxicated, obviously police have to do something about that if he's causing a ruckus. Also, I don't know if you noticed, this man was spilling out of his clothes. He was he was very indecently dressed already. So in any case, I guess we'll see what the Pattaya police investigate themselves and find.
Allegedly, Alex. Allegedly.
All allegations, of course. All right. Now, this has been a hot topic, obviously, for several weeks here in Thailand. And guess what? It's making the news again. Toxic smog has disrupted Bangkok flights as PM 2.5 levels continue to soar. That's right, Bangkok's toxic air pollution has reached hazardous levels, forcing flight diversions and triggering health warnings. On February 2nd, thick smog reduced visibility to 150 meters. That's like, I can barely see across the building over here, diverting flights from Dongmun Airport. PM 2.5 levels hit 64.7 micrograms per cubic meter, nearly double the safe limit. Authorities blame traffic, industry, and crop burning for worsening conditions, with stagnant air trapping pollutants. In response, the Bangkok government urged mask use, remote work, and free public transport. Critics argue more long-term solutions like promoting EVs and stricter regulations are needed to combat Thailand's annual pollution crisis. Still yucky.
Hashtag pollution in Thailand.
Yeah, the fact that it's diverting flights now, like,
let's talk about it until we have to start talking about the flooding instead.
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on. The air will be clearer, but the streets will not. It's not one thing; it's another.
Man, I mean, now that I'm a biker, I'm not a big fan of I'm not a big fan of the rain anymore.
Yeah,
I don't have a
same.
back fender, so the water just goes all over my back and seat, and it's just...
That's pretty yucky. Yeah. You gotta get one of those full like dry suits or something like that for driving. It'll
No,
be
I'm not a nerd, bro. What? How
not a
dare you.
nerd. Yeah.
All right, we're going to move on to our next story. A little bit of a serious one coming from Pattaya regarding a Israeli fugitive wanted for stabbing. A 27-year-old Israeli fugitive wanted for a violent stabbing in Tel Aviv was arrested in Pattaya after Thai immigration police discovered he had overstayed his visa. Identified only as T, he was listed to an Interpol red notice for luring a victim to an apartment where he and an accomplice smashed a bottle over the victim's head and stabbed him multiple times. T fled Israel using a fake passport and hid in Pattaya last year. The Thai authorities have revoked his visa and are coordinating his extradition, reinforcing Thailand's crackdown on international fugitives. Made it to the country, got the visa.
Yeah. Fake
but-
passport. Like,
Fake passport, but yeah, didn't get the renewal.
Yeah, obviously, this is something that he had been flagged. His alternate identity, his alias, was flagged as well. So no matter what he did, he was going to get caught eventually. Yeah, apparently you can't get away with stabbing all the time. And this is, it seems like the guy, the initial victim, is still alive. That's a good thing. But fortunately, this guy's been tracked down and now will be brought to justice back in his home country of Israel. So, yeah, can't hide in Pattaya forever. Well, anyways, speaking of Farangs behaving badly,
Yeah.
guess what? This is the Thaiger. We have more. 3 foreigners have attacked a Phuket tuk-tuk driver over a parking dispute.
What?
Right. A Thai tuk-tuk driver, Naren, was violently attacked by 3 foreign men in Phuket following a parking dispute outside Jungsileon Mall at 3 a.m. on February 2nd. The altercation began when Naren asked a foreign motorcyclist to move his vehicle, but the man refused and called 2 friends for backup. The trio then strangled Naren and struck him in the head with a glass bottle, breaking his nasal bone and requiring 6 stitches. The suspects remain at large, with dashcam footage circulating online. Thai netizens are divided, calling for stricter law enforcement while also highlighting ongoing parking issues.
Yeah, so this happened in Patong in Phuket, so possibly some substances were involved.
Never know. Yeah, the fact that, I always say this, driving brings out the worst in people. And in this case, obviously, there's no excuse for violence, especially when you've got like a 3-on-1 situation. This poor guy was outnumbered and they smashed him like with this deadly weapon assault. Like, this is a really serious thing. So there is footage out there of these guys. Hopefully they can track them down and figure out what happened and, dish out the justice needed.
Justice.
Justice.
But yeah, a lot. It's getting a bit too much now with all the foreigners and the crimes and the fights and stuff. It's getting a bit ridiculous.
Look, there's so many people coming to Thailand all the time. Obviously, there's going to be a couple of bad apples that slip in through those cracks. But that's why we got to name and shame when it happens.
Name them and shame them. All right. We're going to move on to our next story, which is a little bit of a wowza. Now, a Thai beautician battles British heirs for 400,000 inheritance. Inheritance, are you eligible? A Thai beautician, Kanokpon Natashai, is battling the sons of her late British lover, Roger Barrage, for a share of his 400,000 pound estate in the London High Court. She claims Barrage promised her financial security and that she loaned him 200,000 pounds for his business. His sons, Simon and David Barrage, reject her claim, arguing she already received gifts, including a luxury Hua Hin villa. They insist their father's 2006 will left everything to them. The case hinges on whether Barrage's verbal promises hold legal weight. A ruling on a security for cost order is pending, with a final decision yet to come. So, hey, often a story in Thailand, a lot of elderly gentlemen come to Thailand, find younger women, find love. Because, there is often a long-term relationship. Yes, there's an age gap or whatever, but it's a long-term loving relationship. One partner dies. Do I get half his money?
It is a tale as old as time here, but also there's that implication of financial security that is often part of the unspoken agreement, so to speak.
And also sorry.
No, 2006 was the last will.
Yeah.
Like, update your wills, guys.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the big issue here.
But also, like, it's like, I lent him so he has a estate of 400,000. Basically, the question is like, hey, he's got $400,000, and I get 50% of it because he owes me £200,000.
Who knows what the real story is?
Yeah, I don't know.
That should be easily traceable, though, too. There should be financial records for that with that kind of money. But yeah, I don't know. Like, we're gonna have to wait and see how this one plays out. But curious to see.
Luxury villa in Hua Hin.
Yeah, yeah. Did she get a villa too? Like, that's a pretty decent thing to get.
Because words can often also be, you know, twisted.
Yeah.
A luxury villa in Hua Hin. Only what defines luxury? Yeah,
it's true too.
Anyways,
yeah. Well, guys, that'll do it for our Thailand section of the news. Now we are on to our ASEAN section, where our first stop is Cambodia.
Cambodia.
Indeed, Cambodia is preparing to receive deportees from the United States. Cambodia is prepared to receive its citizens facing deportation from the U.S. under President Donald Trump's immigration policy. Government spokesman Pen Bona reaffirmed Cambodia's commitment to repatriating its nationals and cooperating with U.S. authorities. At least 1,747 Cambodians are among the over 1.4 million foreign nationals with final removal orders. Many deportees who arrived as refugee children after the Khmer Rouge genocide face returning to an unfamiliar homeland after criminal convictions. Cambodia is working on reintegration strategies, but deportees will be permanently separated from their U.S.-based families. This kind of sucks. Like, so these guys, a lot of these people came from Cambodia after Khmer Rouge, which was the horrendous regime that killed millions of Cambodian people back in the day. And honestly, the government just transitioned into what it is today. So this is pretty crazy because so many people were just trying to flee that violence, came to the United States at a time when we were welcoming refugees, and now we're sort of flipping the switch and being like, no. You can't be here anymore. Now, apparently it's targeting people with criminal convictions in the United States. Now, who knows where that could have been? Obviously, you know, people turn to a life of crime and poverty, that kind of thing. But, yeah, this is a pretty, I don't know, shocking ordeal. Glad to see that the Cambodians are trying to repatriate them and reintegrate them, but truly an unfamiliar place for many of these people.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to Indonesia now, as Indonesia repatriates ailing French death row inmate after 20 years. Indonesia is set to repatriate French death row inmate Sergei Atalawi, 61 years old, who has spent nearly 20 years in prison for alleged drug offenses. Arrested in 2005, Al-Tawi claims he was a welder unaware of the MDMA production at the factory where he worked. Initially sentenced to life, his punishment was upgraded to death in 2007. After narrowly avoiding execution in 2015, he recently requested transfer to France due to illness. A deal between Indonesia and France allows his return, aligning with Jakarta's recent repatriation of foreign prisoners and ongoing efforts to ease prison overcrowding. He's been in jail for 20 years and he's still an alleged drug trafficker.
Well, look, I mean, he was convicted by the Indonesian court system, and the fact is, look, he says that they didn't, or he didn't know that it was being produced in his factory.
He thought it was sugar powder.
It seemed, right, exactly. It seems a little questionable that that would be the case. At the same time, sentenced to life for drug manufacturing, then upgraded to death sentence. Pretty crazy. But Indonesia is now going backwards on these. They're repatriating a lot of their high-profile criminal, especially drug cases, to the initial countries, where it remains unclear what kind of punishment will be continued to be given to these guys, or if they'll eventually be let free because of less strict drug laws in those countries, like France, for example. I don't think he'd be facing death. Since, well, they don't even have the death penalty over there. So, curious, but good news for him, and interesting to see how Indonesia is playing with these court cases now. All right, moving on to our next story. We have a little bit more U.S. politics coming over to East Asia. China is hitting back at the U.S. tariffs with trade restrictions and a Google probe.
Oh, okay.
China has retaliated against new U.S. tariffs with its own countermeasures, including a 15% tariff on coal and LNG, a 10% tariff on crude oil and agricultural machinery, and export restrictions on key minerals. Additionally, Beijing launched an antitrust probe into Google and blacklisted two U.S. firms, PVH Group and Illumina. These moves come as U.S.-China trade tensions escalate, echoing past disputes. While China's response appears measured, analysts warn that a prolonged trade war could weaken global economic growth, raise U.S. inflation, and put upward pressure on interest rates. tit for tat. Like this is a normal prisoner dilemma, like economics going on over here. Oligopoly stuff.
You love a good tit for tat, don't you?
I am. Well, it's not really, because usually it means that we're punching each other to lower means. Look, free trade is something that the West, like America, established its global dominance in the economy and in culture by establishing free trade agreements with countries all over the world.
Yeah.
So limiting that free trade, in my book, I take a lot of the neoliberal view that these business relations make it more difficult for countries to go into conflict with each other, right? If we're all making money off of trade with each other, then we're less likely to, go to war.
Yeah.
And placing these limitations, sort of like, tariffs, make it. The idea is to encourage domestic production, right? You make foreign products more expensive for your domestic consumers, so that they'll consume domestic.
Yeah.
But that only works if you have the infrastructure in place to replace what we are consuming from abroad, right? Like if rice becomes way more expensive, Chinese rice becomes way more expensive, do we have rice farmers in America to make up for that?
Yeah.
Or is it just more expensive rice now for everybody? That's I'm the economist. Sorry,
What he said.
In any case, this is what Trump promised, and this is what we're getting. So
Yeah, man. I mean, an eye for an eye will leave the whole world blind. Do you know who said that?
The Bible.
It was Gandhi.
Gandhi. Excuse me. Yeah.
But
sorry.
then, if an eye for an eye, does it leave the whole world blind? Because technically you have another eye, but then you're expecting someone else to retaliate and take the other eye. And then,
This is why I never listened to Gandhi. Like,
I mean, I'm just saying. Moving on to Malaysia. As it is to implement 50% toll discount during all festive seasons.
woohoo!
Okay. Great news if you're in Malaysia, as the country is implementing a 50% toll discount during all festive seasons in 2025, replacing the previous toll-free initiative. Oh, so not good news. Work Minister Datuk Seri Alexander Nantalinggi stated that this approach will cut government costs, reducing toll compensation to 80 million instead of 160 million. The discount, first introduced for Chinese New Year, will now apply to Eid al-Fitr and other major holidays. The government highway concessionaries will fund the initiative, aiming to balance public assistance with financial sustainability. Anyways, I thought this was a good story. The tolls were free during festive seasons, but now, instead of making it fully free, at least it's 50%, and then soon it'll be 100%. They'll be like, yep,
Yeah. I don't know why I included the story. I just figured we get a lot of clicks from Malaysia, but yeah.
Hey, guys. So, you're updated now. So.
It's controversial. It affects everyone in Malaysia who drives over there. I thought I want them to weigh in, let me know their thoughts on, is this going to break the bank, or is the government making a good call here?
It is a cool feeling. Like when I think it was, I don't know what day it was, but like when you're traveling for Songkran and stuff, and you get onto the tolls, you're going to Pattaya, and when you go through and you're like, wait, what's going on? Oh, they're not taking the toll. And there's like that little 5 second of joy where you're like,
Yeah.
no toll.
You pull up
baby.
and you're like, here's the money, and then there's nobody there. Sweet. All right, I'm just gonna go
That
through.
happened to me on the BTS the other day. I was like trying to use the machine, and I pressed the thing, and then a car just popped out. I was like, what's going on? And a Chinese tourist walking by was like, hey, it's free.
Huh?
And I was like, oh, thank you, good sir.
Thank you. Kind Samaritans in there letting me know.
Yes, because there was a week-long free BTS.
Yeah, that was that. In order to combat the pollution, everybody's like, "Is this the solution for this?" Like,
Maybe the crop burning, guys. Anyways.
Yeah, there could be.
It's
some
electric.
Other
The
things.
BTS is electric. And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, those were some of the stories from across Thailand and ASEAN. You can find more stories on the Thaiger.com. But for now.
Oh, wait, hold on. I got a plug too, just at the end. Guys, so in Pattaya, anybody coming hanging out in Pattaya?
Hold on.
Can I get my plug in first at least?
Yes.
All right, guys. Pattaya, this Friday, February 7th, at the Siam Design Hotel. We will be having our first major Pattaya Night Live, a comedy event. There will be comedy, music, magic, improv. We got an improv troupe coming through as well. We got about 60 tickets sold, so we're gonna have a big gathering there. We can only have up to 80, so tickets are going fast. Please go and grab some at megatix.com, and hopefully I'll see you this Friday.
Go check out his comedy, guys. It's gonna be a great night. There's a couple of people going from here as well, so come join us. Come meet the Thaiger crew if you're in Pattaya.
Yeah, cool.